Bill O'Brien needs to make a major splash at the defensive coordinator position, and there are two candidates that would be absolute home runs for Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insight, part of the 247 Network. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade, and if you're looking for Boston College news, analysis, and details on your Eagles, you are in the right place. Locked On Boston College is a free daily Boston College podcast available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. On today's show, we're going to talk about how bleak it is to be a BC fan. There's a new study out that shows how bad it is. We're going to talk about Kurt Anderson, who is off and running with a handful of new offers. I'll explain why one of them really stands out to me. And there's two names now for defensive coordinator I think would be absolute home runs for BC, but BC's going to have to pay up to do it. Let's dive in. Now, we are now almost 3 weeks, I believe, away from when BC fired Tim Lewis, Matt Applebaum, and Darryl Wyatt. We now have a wide receivers coach, Joe Daly, a offensive line coach, Kurt Anderson, who we'll talk about later. But the big position that they need, that coordinator position, has yet to be filled. Now, the big name that everyone is throwing around is Al Washington, the former Boston College defensive tackle who worked at Michigan, who worked at BC, who worked at Ohio State, and is now the defensive line coach at Notre Dame. I have not heard any buzz about him actually coming here anymore. I think at one point he may have talked to BC, but it doesn't seem like it's gone anywhere. So now it's on to option B, C, whatever wherever BC is at, they're moving on. Now, maybe the hope is that Bill O'Brien had just two candidates just fall into his lap. Because if Bill O'Brien wants to go out and get one of the established defensive coordinators, there are two out there that would be absolute home runs for Boston College. The first is what we've talked about, Anthony Poindexter. Penn State just hired their defensive coordinator. Virginia Tech, they hired Brent Pry, so they don't need to bring Anthony Poindexter over from Penn State. He is basically out of a job now. Penn State has always had really good defenses. We've seen them, be very consistently good. They've always had one of the better units. They've put together, groups that have had talent all up and down that roster. They've been able to develop players on defensive line, cornerbacks, all those positions, linebackers. Last year, they had the 7th ranked defense before everything fell apart this year. So Poindexter would be a great get. He's been part of a very good organization. He doesn't have a place to go. He was a co-defensive coordinator with Jim Knowles, so he wasn't technically the defensive coordinator. So this would be an upgrade for him. So this would fit in well. Why not? The one piece that I go back to with every coordinator that goes towards BC, how is he connected to Bill O'Brien? And I have to think that that's a little bit overrated, because we've seen more and more coaches connect with him. Look at Kurt Anderson. He was connected to Doug Brown, who was a coach last year. They're able to find guys through a variety of things. And I don't know how Anthony Poindexter could get back to Bill O'Brien, but I'm sure you could figure it out. He's one. The second name came up on Thursday. And this one, I'm like, you need to back the Brinks truck up and hire this guy immediately, because this would be a game changer for BC. And that is Pete. I'm going to get his name wrong. Pete Kwiatkowski of Texas, who was surprisingly fired by Texas this past season after having the 3rd ranked defense last year. Texas fell to 20, I believe they were in the 20s, 36 in terms of defense this year. Here's what you do. This is how you get a guy like this. They hired Will Muschamp, who is obviously, I believe he's a Texas. No, is he a Georgia grad? Well, he's got experience with Texas. So they hired him. They fired Kwiatkowski. This is a chance now. He's going to demand, he's going to get a job. I don't know how many other jobs are out there right now, but I know one, Boston College. Pay him. Give him Darryl Wyatt's. I know it doesn't work usually for assistant head coaches and defensive coordinators, but just pay him. Give him a lot of money. Like, you have all this revenue sharing. You have, I mean, that's not going to make a difference, but you have all this income that's coming in. You need to spend it. Will Long should not be expensive. Make Kwiatkowski your expensive coordinator. He can recruit. He can coach. He can do everything. He has the experience. He has the results. Bring him in. You may have missed out on Al Washington. Maybe there's other coaches that you wanted and we still haven't seen them come in yet. This is a chance to make a splash. This is what BC needs. We talked about it with transfer portals yesterday, how there's positions that BC needs to make a big statement with. Coordinator would be a big one. If you just bring in some guy because he knows Bill O'Brien, you're putting you're risking some things here, because you could bring it. Like, my biggest worry right now is that O'Brien is going to find somebody who is not really a coordinator, who he's going to give an upgrade to because he has some experience doing something, and he doesn't do much on the recruiting trail. He hasn't had the experience on the field, and we get Will Long, but on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not here to trash Will Long. His offense has been mediocre to bad for 2 straight years. You need to get something in that really pushes one of your units. And this is a chance with your defense. After 2 years, yes, Donovan Azaraku was good in 2024, but most of the other parts of that defense was not. And this past year was a disaster. BC, what? I mean, I don't know what the difference is, but if you're paying like $500,000 more, but you're going to get results, it makes sense. Pay it. I still think, like, a guy like the two I just mentioned, Anthony Poindexter, who shouldn't be as expensive as Pierre Kwiatkowski, but you're going to have to spend for both. I imagine. Well, I've heard buzz that Lewis was expensive, which is crazy because he didn't do anything before that. He shouldn't have been expensive, but I heard buzz that he could have been an expensive coach. If that's the case, then you have the money. Whatever the case may be, is these two coaches do a lot. And additionally, they do something that makes my heart happy. They're college coaches. I do not need BC to get any more NFL coaches that don't have experience on the recruiting trail, that don't have those connections. They need college coaches. And Poindexter and Kwiatkowski both have that. So they both would be great options. But I sit here and I say that and I go, I feel so sad saying this, but I'm making a big deal for 8 minutes on this, and I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it's going to be some name no one's ever heard of before. I'm just waiting for it because it just feels like that's been kind of, maybe O'Brien will surprise us, but I'm a beaten man, guys. I'm a beaten man. We've seen it enough. We've seen this story play out enough. But, well, anyways, let's take a breather. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to talk about Kurt Anderson, who took basically his first public day and made a big deal out of it. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. The holidays always show up faster than we expected. If you're still putting together gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has got you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and everything for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Wayfair is perfect gifting too. They have guides, tons of options, and something for everyone on every budget. And with no massive delivery fees, there's no stress. It's the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around to different stores. So get your last minute home essentials. Hosts for all you hosts out there, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for far less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum, swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. I'm watching that Patriots game. They were up by 20 points going into halftime. I just felt the momentum was going to shift. So I went in there. You go and you can pick the next drive. What's going to happen? I was like, touchdown. Boom. I was like, oh, Josh Allen's hot. Touchdown. Next one. Boom. It's so easy. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. With FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Boston College your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up to the next level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Boston College with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all just for $5 a month, $50 a year. That's going to save a little money there. So all you got to do is go to LockedOnBostonCollege.supercast.com. Again, that's LockedOnBostonCollege.supercast.com, or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Locked On Boston College here, AJ Black. Now, on Thursday, both Joe Daly and Kurt Anderson were announced as their new positional coaches. They were both, they got the graphics and everything good. So they are both in the fold now. It did not take moves that really caught my attention. While it looks like a lot of focus right now is on the transfer portal, which I get, they're going to have a lot to do between now and January 2nd. Kurt Anderson's out there already making 3 new offers on the offensive line. The first was to Cameron Wagner from St. Joseph Ogden High School in Illinois. This is a 4-star tackle. He's 6'6", 300 pounds. Everybody's been offering Cameron Wagner. I saw Florida. I saw Penn State. I saw, he's got a ton of offers. He had even more after I was done, looking at this article. This is going out there to your first offer in his own backyard. Remember, Kurt Anderson is from the Midwest. He coached at Northwestern. So an Illinois coach, smart move to go out there and offer a kid that's in his backyard. That was the first offer he made. The next one was someone who has a name that you should probably recognize, and that's Hawken Anderson. Hawken Anderson is Kurt's son. If you go to Kurt's page, there's lots of on Twitter, there's lots of tweets about food, and he looks like a great cook. But he also has a lot of tweets about his kid. And Hawken is at Suffield Academy in Connecticut. He's a guard. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. He's already got a bunch of MAC offers. I mean, I don't know how you can say more that this is going to be a slam dunk that BC's going to land him. When a dad's on the staff, you had Bryce Lewis, who still has not entered the portal. Right? Maybe he'll stay. You've got Mac Fitzgerald. His dad is the strength and conditioning coach. You've had these things happen a lot. It feels like this is a slam dunk. He's got offers from Akron, Liberty, Marshall, and more. But he's at Suffield Academy. Would you be surprised? I probably wouldn't if he ends up at Catholic Memorial next year. That just seems to be the case. His dad's going to be working at BC. Catholic Memorial's right down the street. He'll probably commit. He'll be a 3-star recruit. And there you go. You get your offensive lineman for next year. One of them. So he's the second one. And then the third is Patrick O'Brien, which I had to get a good laugh out of if you didn't see it on Twitter. Um, he is from Archbishop Mueller, who has had a lot of good recruits. This is Cincinnati, Ohio. He's the number 52 tackle prospect on 247. I loved his tweet because he used my buddies over at Eagles Dailies, their graphic design for that. They did a great job of making an eagle, and it's featured on there. But this is a guy. He has offers from from Kentucky, West Virginia, and Pitt. So Kurt Anderson is a good recruiter. This is the thing that I was most excited about for him coming here, is because I never got a good sense that Matt Applebaum was a good recruiter. He was probably better at developing guys. Anderson has a history of being a good recruiter. And he's already going out there and doing what you've seen a lot of other coaches that are new doing, which is just going out there and hitting the trail running, which is exactly what you want. You want to see him go out there and start to make those moves. So that's important. Okay. Now, in terms of the transfer portal, there was no new news on Thursday. You saw some other players enter the portal from other schools, but honestly, the players that entered, like Josh Hoover, quarterback from TCU, and there was some other smaller school stuff, I didn't see a ton that was connected to BC. So it was honestly a pretty quiet day for the Eagles. And you have your new coaches, and I have the Everydayers Club right here. I just did an 8-minute episode on a little nugget that came up that I didn't want to put on the podcast about Ryan Bartow. If you want to hear about it, you have to be part of the Everydayers All Access tier. Signups are right there. But I'm doing, this is my third or fourth bonus segment. I've done 4 10-minute podcasts this week. If you want to get part of it and you get access to me, you can text me, do all sorts of great stuff like that. The signups are in the show notes below. In our final segment, the Washington Post did a fun little exercise on being how bad of it is to be a fan of a certain team. And I bet you can guess how bad it is for Boston College. I'll explain what is in this little study in just a moment. Ever feel like your money just disappears every month? I do. It happens fast. A few subscriptions there, a impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. With Rocket Money helps you get your clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Seeing all your spending in one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. For my family, I continue to say it, going out to dinner is always a struggle with us, but I can now see it. I can also make goals and make sure that I'm hitting them with my wife so that we're all on the same budget. Now take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black, and thank you to everyone who makes us part of your daily routine, all you everydayers out there. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I do that because we are a Boston College podcast. Life as a Boston College football fan, a sports fan in general, other than maybe hockey and lacrosse, it's a tough sell. It is one thing where if you're a graduate of BC, like I am, to root for your alma mater, to root for the team that you've rooted for years, you can handle sometimes the ins and outs. For other people, it's impossible. Well, the Washington Post did their own little study, and I'm going to pull it. The Post did a ranking system, and here's how they came upon it. The rankings span 70 teams and consider more than a dozen metrics, including national championships, playoff appearances, conference titles, winning percentage, wins over ranked opponents, and other markers of success. Their goal: measure how fans would feel if they abandoned their irrational disposition and focused on the performance of their team and how it compares to other programs. So, for instance, the number one team, I believe, I already had it in front of me and I just lost it, is Georgia. For the past 5 years. For the past decade, they're number 2. Since 2000, they're number 4. Ohio State, number 2. Now, if you dig deep, you can see how bad it has been for BC. All right. Boston College over the past 5 years is number 65, below Purdue, Colorado, West Virginia, Central Florida, California, Rutgers, Maryland, Mississippi State, Washington State. Ugh. Now, I got to say this right now. There's no reason BC should be behind those schools. There really shouldn't be. But this is where the state of BC football is at. And this is where you hope that Bill O'Brien can be able to get the guy to get out of that muck. But hey, let's take a further step back to see how things have been going. Okay, you go back to the past decade. They were 65 for the past 5, ranked 65 for the past 5 years. For the past decade, 64. Oh my gosh, it's not getting any better. I mean, no surprise to anyone who's listening. You've all watched. This is just solidifying all of this. It's just bad. Then you go back since 2000, and BC is number 50. So that slight increase in that's 2007 and 2008. But I'm sure there was games before that were even better. So it's been miserable. This is why I think a lot of folks, myself included, are going, Father Jack Butler, you're going to be the president. Please, please give this school what it needs in terms of financing. Please give it the funding that it needs to be successful. There is no reason that BC should be behind some of these schools, and they are. The only schools that are behind them are Auburn from the last 5 years, which is crazy because Auburn, Nebraska, Virginia Tech, wow, Northwestern, and Stanford. And then if you do the past decade, the only schools below them are Oregon State, Maryland, Arkansas, Kansas, Nebraska, and Rutgers. And since 2000, there's a lot more. So I bring this up because you guys are rooting for a team that we all know, has been historically struggling. And we're just waiting for that time where they can break out of this, because that right there, that study, to use all those different metrics, does not point a very positive light at Boston College. And we all know that. We have all been hoping for something to break this out, whether it's a coach or a key player or anything. And for 25 years, it really hasn't happened. You had your Matt Ryan for a little bit, but after that, we've been swimming upstream on a lot of these issues. I feel like this study just basically solidifies what a lot of us have thought. And you look at 2026 and you're going, unless they do something drastic, it's just going to be more of the same. How do they break out of this cycle? I know the answer. You all know the answer. It's money, money, money. You got to start spending more. And I don't know when the school will get that through to them, that putting through the bare minimum, as they've done for 25 years, is not going to push them up this kind of ranking, which they need to, because it's just a lot of subjective analysis, I think. But in all of this, we all know it's true. So BC's got to figure it out. BC's got to go. That's why I say, Father Jack, pay for better assistance, pay more, help them get the NIL monies and the donors that they need so that you can get your team to that next level. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back on Monday. I tell you this, if they hire a defensive coordinator on Friday or over the weekend, I will go live. If not, I will whenever they hire him. We will be back next week. Hey, basketball's back. I know you're all excited about that, aren't you? Fairleigh Dickinson. Bye game never goes poorly for BC. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on Eagle Insider. And thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College part of your daily routine. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another show of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.